intranet. I think I've made a mistake. So, as you can tell from the title of this video, this is going to be a book haul. I have a ridiculous amount of books that I have bought in less than a month. I have no self-respect or any respect for money at all, and choose to spend it all on books. I don't know why I'm feeding my obsession again, and I am sure all of you other book lovers out there understand this problem fairly well. So we're just going to get into it because I think there's 18 of these, 19 technically, and this is going to be a very long video. This part of the video probably looks a little different. That's because it is. I videoed this earlier than the rest of it because I just wanted to scoot in this little story real quick before I had to send the book back. So, as you know, this is a haul video, and I talk about all the books that I got. One of the books that I ordered, I did get, but I got the wrong edition. And let me just tell you. So, I woke up to an email that's like, oh, you have a package. And I was so very excited because I love getting packages. It's like Christmas, except I paid for it. Anyway, point is, I bought the last book in a series by Patrick Ness. It's the Chaos Walking series. Now that's the third book, Monsters of Men. This is the edition that I received. I did not order this edition of the book. I ordered this edition of the book. I ordered this edition specifically because, one, it's prettier, and I, the book cover whore that I am, need the pretty one. Two, because it matches the other two books that I have in the series, the first and second book. Here, look at these two books, and look at the third book. Look, it's a beautiful matching set. Looks perfect and uniform, and all goes together well. These two, however, do not match this hideous copy that I received. Now I have to send back this copy because I want that copy, the pretty one, that matches the other two I have. And I guess I'll go mail this off real quick so I can get my refund and later buy the actual edition that I wanted. First book that I got is Iron-Hearted Violet by Kelly Barnhill. This follows the story of a princess who's kind of reckless. Her and her friend discover that there's one more dragon. They go and find the dragon. I think this is a story about stories and about storytelling, and there is a little quip on the back saying, most fairy tales, princesses are beautiful, dragons are terrifying, and stories are harmless. This isn't most fairy tales. So I think it has something to do with the power of stories and storytelling and this princess named Violet who's pretty reckless. That's all I got for this book. The next two books I have are a part of a duology by Renee Adelaide. And those two books are The Wrath and the Dawn and The Rose and the Dagger. And this is a retelling story of the Arabian Nights. There is a boy king. He takes a new bride every night. She ends up murdered in the morning. Our main character is seeking revenge on this guy because one of the brides was her friend. So she volunteers herself as a bride and she starts to fall in love with the kid, and now she's trying to figure out what's going on, why are all these women dying, how can I figure this out. So it's that, and I have read the Arabian Nights and I really did like that intro story of the princess who told stories to stay alive, so I'm excited to read this. Book number 4 is The Mermaid Sister by Carrie Ann Noble. This is a very short and fluffy book. I have read it already, so I'll be telling you guys about that sooner or later. So this follows a girl named Clara, and her and her family discover her sister is actually a mermaid. So they have to make the trip down the mountain to the ocean to drop off their mermaid sister, and it talks about their travel and just Clara's emotions with dealing with this, and how Clara's kind of scared because she doesn't want to lose her sister, but also scared because her and the other kids that she has grown up with all have mysterious beginnings, and she's worried that if her sister turns into a mermaid, she might lose her humanity as well and transform into something else. Book number 5, I think I'm going to stop using numbers. There's too many books. This is Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. I do have a book opinion, so I'll link that to this video. And this, for the basic synopsis, is about two princesses. There's a civil war going on in one of the princesses' home countries. They end up together because one needs to learn how to ride horses and the other is supposed to teach her, and it's just a romantic tale of how these two fall in love with a little magic thrown in to make everything all the more interesting. The next book I have is Nimona by Noelle Stevenson, and this is a graphic novel. First, it has a beautiful cover that she drew, and then they even took the time to put it on the actual book cover. I love it all the more. I like when books give me a beautiful cover to it and then a beautiful book jacket to it as well. It just makes everything all the better. Now, this follows the story of Nimona, and she is a sidekick to a villain. And that's all I'm going to tell you here. I'll tell you more about what I thought about it when I talk about the book. The next two books I have are by Leigh Bardugo, her Six of Crows duology. So that consists of Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. These two books follow 6 people, and they plan a heist. I don't know what they're stealing. I don't know what they're doing. They're mercs, and they're gonna heist some stuff, and they're criminals, and that's all I need to know. The next book is The Red Queen Dies by Frankie Y. Bailey. So it has some elements of Alice in Wonderland thrown in, but is all intents and purposes a murder mystery. There is a new drug that is put out to deal with post-traumatic stress disorder called the lullaby, and it has a side effect of causing people to forget what they're doing, and now there is a serial killer out killing all of these women, and one of the women who dies is a Broadway star called the Red Queen. So it follows the detective, this woman named Hannah, and her trying to figure out why are people ending up dead and what this has to do with the drug. The next book I have is called The Blonde by Anna Goldbersten. I am so sorry I have to talk so slow to pronounce some things, or else I'm just going to trip over my tongue, especially with names. This book is historical fiction, and it's a retelling of Marilyn Monroe's life. And in this, she is supposed to be an agent, a kind of spy, that sort of stuff, and her job and mission is to protect JFK. And it's just like, what if this happened? What if this was the history of America? So, plus, I really like the cover. I like how, it's a very sexy cover, with the lips, the red, and then the gun. It gives a very femme fatale look to it, so it seems pretty exciting. The next book I have, I'm just going to keep saying that, the next 25 books I have to tell you about, this one is actually a YA book called Mindwalker by A.J. Stinger, something or another. And I picked this one up because it sounded interesting, not because of the cover. This cover is so cheesy and ugly, and I don't know why we make some YA covers that look like this. Plus, it has a horrible glare. So this horribly covered book is about a girl, and she's a part of an organization. And in this organization, you can go into other people's memories, wipe their memories, something with the mind. And this girl finds this boy wants his memories erased. The organization tells her that his pains are too deep and she shouldn't mess with them, but she does it anyway because teenagers don't listen. And she goes screwing around in his brain. She discovers there's a lot of secrets in there about the organization, and now they're messing with things that they're not supposed to be messing with, and all of that. Now, the next book I bought is what started it. A lot of these books came from the dollar store, so I got them for $1. And what caught my eye was a book that's been on my list, and that is The Gold Sun. And this is the second book in the Red Rising trilogy by Pierce Brown. So I do not have the first book, but I saw this one, saw that it was for $1, and knew that I was going to buy it eventually, so I figured, why not buy it for $1? And then started me down the path of buying all these other random books because they were also just $1. The next book I have is by Rick Springfield, and it's called Magnificent Vibrations. Now this is where we get into the territory of this was a cheap book and I don't know how to read plot summaries because I don't even know if I'm going to like this, but it does sound pretty funny to me. So this is about a guy, he finds the phone number that gives you a direct line to God. All of a sudden he's on this weird adventure of a quest or some sort. He meets this really pretty girl and him and this woman get together. Now I have an inkling of where the story might end up in certain parts of it, and it's made all the better by the commentary on the back. Now, books always have commentary of like different people who read it, and then they give like their little short quip of what the book was about, and my favorite one by far is the one done by his own mom. And this is what it says. Richard is a very naughty boy. Why can't he write a nice story? I don't know why he's so obsessed with his private parts. Rude child. I wish I had a daughter. I have an inkling of where some parts of this book might go. And sometimes I wish I looked at the plot summaries more, but really I don't care. I buy books because books are cool. So, gonna read this eventually, I guess. The next book I have is by Richard Green, and if you guys have ever watched the movie The American Hustle, then you'll be familiar with this book. This is apparently the true story behind that movie. That whole movie in itself is about a con man trying to out-con politicians. The next book that I have is by Christopher Jansme. I think that's how you say it, and that's The Unchangeable Spots of Leopards. And this is a novel about Jansme's own life and how he struggled with his rival's success, and just a story about his life, I guess, or some of the problems he had at one point in his life about him being a writer. And I picked it up because I have a bunch of friends that are writers. I do want to go into the publishing field, and it has a really cool cover. Look at that. That's like a leopard with a typewriter head. Cool. Again, this next book is a book that makes me think, why don't you just pay more attention to the books you pick up? Like, it was $1, so I was just like, cover looks pretty, better buy it. And I didn't take any mind to what the summary actually was, but now that I have the book, I'm going to eventually read it, and that is The Good Inn by Black Francis and Josh Frank. And this book is a historical fiction, and it takes place in France, I believe. It is right after some bombs went off and killed a lot of soldiers, and it is about the soldier and this inn girl. And it actually tells the story of how the first porno was made. See, this is what I mean. Why don't I just read the books? So it's like a novel depiction of how the soldier and this girl came to meet each other and how this whole film industry started. I don't know why I needed to learn that, but why you gotta put such interesting covers on things that I'm not quite sure I want to know yet. Anyway, I now own the book. Chinoa needs to read the summaries of books more, instead of just cover buying everything. This is where it gets dangerous when you judge books by its cover and you're just like, oh, the cover looks pretty. You start buying things that you're not quite sure you need to be reading, or you're not quite sure you're into. Like, I don't know why I would need to know that information, but I'll eventually know it, I guess. The next book I have is by Kevin Mather, and it's called The Fields. Now, this follows a boy growing up in Dublin in the 1980s, and he's 14, and it's just him going through his life, him trying to figure out how to be a man, so it's a slice of life story. It seems like a contemporary style book, and while I do not usually reach for contemporary, it takes place in Dublin, and I'm always interested to see new environments. The next book I have is by Chris Morgan-Jones, and it's called The Silent, I don't know how to say that, Obligarch, The Silent Obligarch. I don't know, read it yourself, figure out what that says. I don't know how to pronounce things, and I'm completely sorry about that. As an English major, I should be ashamed, but I'm not. So, this book is an espionage book. It's about this spy, and his mission is to kill a rich Russian oil baron sort of person. And I don't know, I feel like I'm getting really into spy books, or at least I keep buying them and saying that I'm getting into spy books. Final book here that I have, that I buy. I know, like, I'm looking at the clock now, and apparently I have like 18 minutes of film of me just saying, look at this book, okay, look at this book, okay, look at this book, and now look at this book. And this is by Tom Wolfe, and it's Back to Blood. I did read the summary to this one, and I'm still not quite sure what's going on for this book. As far as I've gleaned from this very confusing summary, it's a lot of cultures going on in Miami, and it has something to do with a cop. I think it's told from the perspective of a cop, but we have a lot of different cultures. We got Cubans, we got Haitians, we have black people, we have white people, we have all sorts of races in this book. I like when books show off different cultures, and I'm definitely interested in seeing different cultures brought to life, especially when they're more than just, oh, look, I'm going to put this character in my book for the sake of putting this character in my book. So I'm hoping that's not what this does, and it sounds promising, so I'm ready to read about all of these different people. So those are all the books that I bought in I guess some of them I bought in the month of February. Most of them I bought just a week ago. And now I have to find out where I can fit them in this tiny room that I share. I don't have much space. I don't know why I keep buying so many books, and like I said, I have no real respect for money, and I always reward myself by buying books, even when I do absolutely nothing that I need to reward myself. I guess I got out of bed, and that needs reward enough. So those are all the books that I bought. If you saw any books that you thought were interesting, comment below. If you have read any of these books, if you've seen any of these books, please comment below. And goodbye, internet. I warn you, you start down a dangerous path when you start making your obsession books. It empties your pockets pretty fast. So that is it for my book haul. As you can see, I buy a lot of books in a short amount of time. If any of the books that I mentioned here are ones that you have read before, ones you have seen before, or ones that you think are interesting, comment down below and let me know what you thought about it. Hit the subscribe button if you like what you're seeing here and you want to continue to see more, and ring the little bell to be notified every time I put out a new video. My links to all my social medias are listed down below, so follow me there if you would like. Goodbye, internet, and remember, when you become a book lover, forget money, because you're not going to have it long.